the $100 billion that I mentioned, institutions have to either take up those newly minted Bitcoin, and that's going to happen over years and years, or they'll have to pay up to get holders to sell it. So again, scarcity value will drive or will increase because of the supply-demand imbalance, with institutional investors really having very little involvement yet. And so we think this is just the beginning.
On the back of a relatively quiet weekend, the crypto market is set for a very interesting week ahead. We've got some macroeconomic announcements coming this week, as well as some very bullish statements out of none other than Cathie Wood and Michael Saylor, set to buy even more Bitcoin. In fact, he tweeted this saying that, well, orange dots go up and to the right. This could be playing out favorably along with the rest of the market. Again, looking bullish this week. So in this video, I'm breaking down some of the key things for this week, and I want to touch on how tariffs could be unlocking the potential of a Bitcoin reserve sooner than you think. So if that's all the things you like and you're bullish on the crypto market, smash up the like button to a brand new all-time high. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it. So, like we said, there is a big week ahead of us with lots of speeches and macroeconomic data that we need to be aware of, and this could signal a definite move in the market. It's a 50-50 split. Jerome Powell will be speaking on Thursday, and Stephen Mirren, now for many of you that don't know who he is, he will be speaking today about why he went for a 50 basis points cut and ultimately why interest rates should already be significantly reduced from where they are. This would be bullish for markets, and any slight hint of further rate cuts and stronger data to suggest that, well, economic data is easing, well, this would absolutely add some fuel to the cryptocurrency market. We've even had an interesting report coming out from US bank Jefferies. They are saying that cryptocurrency right now is like the internet was back in 1996. This ultimately giving institutional options to get in, and before it goes too far, they have an opportunity to make a stance. This ultimately is buying into the market, holding a treasury reserve, or simply becoming a custodian of ETFs. Once again, this could signal another strong move this week. A bank is now producing a report telling us that cryptocurrency is the way forward. One of the main reasons that we, well, are seeing the crypto market hold and the S&P 500 rally is all to do with tariffs. Now, if you remember when tariffs came in, the S&P dropped about 10%, but we now are seeing a significant increase. In fact, it's about $350 billion annualized on tariff revenue. So the question therefore is, why are we not seeing this translate into the crypto market or simply just the overall macroeconomic data that's pushing markets up? Well, this all is to do with the deficit. And well, we heard Trump talk about the fact that maybe we'll pay the debt off using a little bit of Bitcoin. And more often than not, it is becoming even more apparent that, well, the US need to go into a Bitcoin standard or a Bitcoin treasury. For example, if you take the data from August, it was actually $345 billion was added to the deficit, which is a significant amount. This is despite all the positives when it comes to this trade revenue. But this might all be about to change. The fact that the president himself has hinted at a potential China-US trade deal could see a significant easing in those trade deficits. And more importantly, this has now been delayed for a further 90 days. So I know you're thinking, how does this relate back to the crypto market and why are my bags going to go to the moon this week? With all of that put in a pretty interesting model, you get the market mean price. This is based on a cost basis that we've been running on, and it's around $117,000. Now, I know what you're thinking. 2-bit, hold on. The markets have been pretty quiet over the weekend, but with all of this macro data starting to come in, it is going to play out in terms of the economic stance this week. And in fact, we are going to see liquidity come into the market, the M2 supply is starting to move. And like we said, the fact where the zone retraced around this 115,600 level is the springboard for that upside move. With Michael Saylor buying and the expectation of further inflows on ETFs, this could be the start of a very bullish week for the crypto market. Even Titan of Crypto here giving us a view on the weekly stochastic RSI that actually has triggered a bullish crossover. Now, This clearly comes with the fact that, well, we have some consolidation, we have therefore an upside trend, and the continuation model that we just talked about is all pointing to the upside. And if you look at something like the EMAs, they're also pointing to the upside. Capital is flowing into the markets. It just doesn't happen at the weekends. This is why Monday, especially if Stephen Mirren convinces people that 50 basis points should have been the cuts we should go to, well, this eases the potential for leveraging debt and for putting more money into this market. This, again, could be a strong move for us over the course of the next 24 hours. And when you look at where the US dollar is, and again, the weakening dollar is playing out exactly as it did back in 2021. Remember, often history doesn't repeat itself, but it does rhyme. And a weak dollar, again, pushes the potential of Bitcoin being the fix to it. Think about it. Back here in 2021, the US dollar was as weak as it had been. And then we saw that massive rally to those all-time highs. Well, exactly the same is happening right now. The dollar is weakening and hitting that 14-year resistance line, which should signal a further move back to the upside. And when you double down on the fact that we still continue to see huge amounts of accumulation in BTC for treasuries, which is up nearly 2% in the last 30 days, well, the reality is the writing is on the wall. This could signal yet again over the course of the next 2 weeks, further buying of Bitcoin while raising debt becomes easier and ultimately more money is flowing into the market. It's all starting to come together to not only give us a push up in the market, but certainly steer the US to a ever nearing Bitcoin reserve. And that announcement, I believe, is going to come very, very soon. So when you wrap all that up and you still look at September as outperforming pretty much what everyone thought with over 6.5% on those BTC returns, and we head into Q4 in October that generally print 85% uptrends on Bitcoin and 23% on Ethereum, well, it's all starting to play out very favorably and, more importantly, as we predicted. The best of the market is yet to come, and this is before we get that announcement of a potential strategic reserve, which, by all what we've talked about, would support the debt and equally would support the US paying off that problem. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. My view is I think this week is going to be very, very interesting. Two key pullouts. Look out for Stephen Mirren's discussion later today and look out for Jerome Powell's statement on Tuesday and exactly what he's going to be talking about. But my expectation is it's going to be a good week to be in the market, and I certainly think we're going to see some rallying, not only in Bitcoin, but altcoin as well. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And if you want to get access to our free Discord, check out the link in the description. We also have a full premium service in which we have trade calls, alpha calls, coins, and everything else. Become a channel member if you want access to that. Until next time, thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.